Welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast, bringing you authentic and vulnerable stories that will inspire you to breathe fire on this world and become your own hero. Here's your host, Blaise Hunter.
Hello, welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast. I'm Blaise Hunter, and I am a fertility expert. No, I don't help people get pregnant. This is a different type of expertise. I actually inspire women to birth confidence, to birth their books and business ideas, dreams, passions, and goals, as well as help them discover peace amongst infertility. After going through my own sets of traumas and tragedies, dealing with a rare disease, and experiencing 3 miscarriages, I decided to take charge of my life and not let life happen to me, but rather become the hero of my own life. I am not barren. I continually birth my purpose every day. So that's why I've created this show, to demonstrate how even though we all experience setbacks and disappointments, we still have a destiny to birth. We just need to blaze the trail and be expecting. This podcast will inspire you to lean into your hardships and allow them to be the vehicle that transports you into becoming the hero of your life so you can breathe fire on this world. This week's episode is called I Was Robbed. And I talk about how our vehicle was literally stolen this week from our front yard. How that makes us humans feel like our security and our sense of stability was robbed. How my daughter is processing this scenario and this situation that we're going through. And I also look back and examine other times in my life where there was theft. And I also share how we can protect our peace. I am a published author, international speaker, fertility expert, and business consultant. My coaching practice is based on the quote from Fred Devito, "What doesn't challenge you doesn't change you." I want to challenge myself and the world to take off the masks and get vulnerable and reflective so we can address root issues and grow. That's how we can transform into the best versions of ourselves. So here we go, guys. We're going to talk about an actual theft that happened this week in my home. Yes, we were watching TV one night. We went to bed at a decent hour. Everything was fine. We locked our doors. Everything looked great. We live in a decent neighborhood. And the next day we woke up. And I even took some coverings off my flowers on the front porch so that deer don't steal my flower buds. Didn't notice anything. My husband was having coffee and watching his show in the morning. He got a shower, got ready for work, went outside with his computer and tote and his car keys. And a few minutes later, he just yelled at me from the porch and just said, "Hey, come out here. Can I talk to you?" Right then, I knew there was something wrong. Right there, I knew, okay, he doesn't want to talk to me in front of our daughter, so he's asking me to come outside. And I take 2 steps towards the front porch, and I realize I look beyond him, and there is no car on the street where he goes in and drives off to work. His car was gone. And he's like, "Did I park it somewhere else? Like, what's happening?" I'm like, "No, it's gone. You're going to have to call the police." What a crazy feeling. You know, I've never been in that situation before. I've never had a car stolen. I've never had that. I will talk about a little later how my house was broken into as a kid, but never a car. It was definitely a weird sensation to know that you parked there and you go out and it's not there anymore. And you're just looking. You're like, did it roll? Did someone play a trick on me? Where is it? We called the cops. They came immediately. We're dealing with this, like insurance, and you're dealing with everything that's the fallout of what could happen, what was in our car, valuables, all that kind of stuff. And the police officer said, "You know what? We find these cars. We'll find it." And we were kind of doubtful. Like, we've never been in this situation, but when you get off movies, you know, you don't usually get your car back. And if you do, it's been chopped up and, you know, vandalized. So we just thought, you know, okay, well, we'll trust what the cop says, but we'll see what happens, right? And I kid you not, just a few hours later, they found the vehicle. I don't know what that was. Like, I don't know if we diverted some plans that maybe the thieves had, because maybe they were planning to take the vehicle further, because it was found just a few minutes away from our house, unharmed, not vandalized, not a scratch on it, which we're very, very, very thankful. We got our car back. Everything is fine. We're okay. But just, it's been an interesting week to process all what happened. It's been an interesting week for my daughter, and to see how she's processing all of this. So I've been really examining how my husband's been reacting, how I've been acting, how my daughter is. And it's just so interesting how we all process these kind of traumas and setbacks and hardships differently, and these challenges, right? My husband's already a silent guy, and he has been very quiet about this. Like, I can tell he's affected, but he's not openly verbalizing how he's feeling. But I can tell this has shaken him up. Like, you feel violated. You feel a sense of security gone. Now, like, I'm double checking, locking everything up and securing everything down. Like, you just feel a heightened awareness that really, are we that safe? Like, you have to believe that to not live in fear, but someone can just walk up to your front yard and take your car. That kind of shakes you to the core. And, you know, we're new to this area, but I never had that sense of like scary anything. But all of a sudden now I'm just like really more aware. And to watch my 7-year-old process this has been very difficult, actually. She's very sensitive, just like me. And for a kid to witness that your world isn't as safe as you had assumed it would be is like shattering her inner belief system. And she's having trouble sleeping. She's been sleeping in her bed every night. She needs to feel protected. She has been setting imaginary booby traps up in the backyard, in the front yard, to catch the robbers. And, you know, that breaks my heart. No matter what we're saying to her, that you're safe and mommy, daddy have you and everything is okay, she knows it's not okay. Someone just walked up and took something of ours that wasn't theirs. They stole her sense of security and safety. And that's hard to like watch your 7-year-old process that, because I can't take that away from her. No matter what I'm saying, she hasn't quite reconciled that yet, that she is still safe. So we're just trying to help her navigate through these emotions. And it's been interesting for me to let that I can't fix it. I can't make it go away for her. And it's really opened my eyes of how maybe some traumatic experiences in my life as a child, and not having maybe that gateway and that portal to work through those emotions, or just back then, 30, 40 years ago, we didn't know these types of things as we know now. And we're growing and knowing more and applying different strategies with our own children. So, you know, it's just been a little bit more of a reflective week for me to look at being robbed of different things, material things, being robbed of, you know, personal space, being robbed of your emotions, of your voice. It's been a fascinating, self-reflective week for me. And I'm really thankful for this, even horrible, you know, scenario that has happened, that our car was stolen. It's really opened up a great opportunity for me to allow my daughter to process emotions, how my husband allow me. And it's been a great growing opportunity. And to still know that someone can steal something from you, but I'm still protecting my peace and my joy. So that's all I'll be talking about today, is just no matter what people come in and try and take from you, you have to be the gatekeeper of your own peace and your joy and your calm and being grounded. Otherwise, we give it all up. And they can take anything from you. But they can take so many of the outer stuff, but they can't take your soul. And that's what's really important about any situation we face in our life, is that we need to learn that we have power, even amongst a crazy, you know, ruthless, evil world sometimes, and how that feels. We have power, and lean into that rather than give the rest of it away. They maybe take one thing from you, but don't let them take everything. So it really has been a catalyst to me be reflective of some of my past experiences of how traumas have may have affected me where someone, stole something from me. And going back to maybe when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe a little bit older, between 8 and 10, I would say, my house was broken into. And we lived on an acreage and a half an hour from major city. So we were living in the boondocks, right? Like we live on gravel roads, and you feel more of a sense of security because of sheer being away from people. Like it's isolated. You're tucked into the woods and the trees. You don't feel like that is an invitation for someone to come and rob your home. Like there's no street lights. People don't see that you have a home there. You would have to know exactly where we are on that grid to know our schedules, that we're not home that night, and as a 10-year-old, you maybe don't think of that because you think your parents are your safety. Your home is your safety, right? And that someone could come in and literally use our own toboggans. I don't know if I have some American and UK people listening here, probably, because I used to live in the UK last year. But a toboggan is a sled. In Canada, we have tons of snow. We go tobogganing, wearing our toques, which is beanies on our heads. And they took our own toboggans out of our garage and loaded up all of our belongings and then took the toboggans through the woods to where their getaway car was. And we found this out because my dad actually drove in with my brother and my cousins first and caught the robbers in the act, like caught them using the sleds. And they dumped the sleds and got in their getaway car and ran off. My mom and I were in a different car. We pull up, we go check in on the house. We had horses and livestock. We lived on this acreage. So we were checking on those things. And in the end, like they didn't steal anything because they didn't get it. We caught them right in the middle of the act while they were loading it all up. But what they had done was even took every part of groceries, every food out of our fridge and put it in our microwave and on the sleds. So like they were even taking a half-eaten peach pie. Like it was just crazy. And I remember that. I'm almost 39, guys. And I remember that from 10 years old of that feeling of being so violated. Nothing was safe because as a kid, your home is like your fortress. And that was like shattered because someone could come in, smash a window, and take it all away. And I didn't know how to process that. And so I probably just moved forward because no one was hurt and nothing was seriously traumatic, but it is traumatic for a kid when you don't even think that's a possibility that someone can come into your safe zone and take something so freely from you. And you can't do anything about it. We never caught them. The plates were stolen, like nothing. We never caught the bad guys and the good guys win, right? Like it was just a blip on the radar that was traumatizing me for a 10-year-old girl. Fast forward 7 years. I'm 17. I'm in my grade 12 year. And our family experienced a house fire in that same acreage home. And not just a little fire, like burned to the ground, nothing, absolutely nothing left. I lost 2 cats and I lost my structure of safety in my life. That was very traumatizing. Like take away theft. Now it's like a whole other realm of theft, right? Because it's gone. You're never getting it back. My whole structure of my life crumbled that day. And I probably never really dealt with it until even in the last 3 years, that everything I known to be safe and true in my home over the years has dealt me huge traumatizing blows. And that plays a big factor in how you react in life and the next situation that you face. How do you respond to the fear and the trauma? And I just remember like, I couldn't imagine having no home. I'm homeless. My home was stolen. And it was no one's fault. It was probably just electrical wiring. They never really figured it out because there was nothing left to examine. Like it was an inferno. And so then again, there was a question of like, why? How did it happen? why would my home be taken from me? And we were displaced. And my pet dog, who always slept on the steps of this house, was displaced. Her world was gone, and she never recovered after that. Like, that traumatized a dog to where, like, she went deaf and blind and slowly deteriorated. Within a few years later of rebuilding our home in that spot, that dog passed away. It was traumatizing so much for a dog. Can you imagine what it's affecting a human mind and heart and soul? So, like, these are things to not go back and be like, oh, I blame all that and why I have problems, but it's to understand what maybe triggered things in you, and now you can go back and try and work through all those emotions and be a better you, be a better woman, a man, be a better parent, because now you're understanding what they may be going through, right? Like, it's so interesting. Fast forward a few years later, my dad, as I mentioned maybe in my first podcast episode, my introduction episode, I had confided into my audience that I experienced a big trauma. My dad had an emotional mental breakdown in my early 20s, and he faked his own death and disappeared. He faked a drowning. And in the end, in a miracle twist of fate, my dad came home. And he's still with us today, and he's still married to my mom. And we're repairing that relationship and moving forward and finding a new normal in a father-daughter relationship. And it's been a beautiful process. It didn't always look great. It was very messy. But I can honestly tell you right now, my dad and I are in such a good place because I'm leaning into things and I'm learning mercy and forgiveness. And my dad's learning to maybe walk out of shame and guilt and forgive himself. And it's been a beautiful, eye-opening process. And so, but it has been an intense, crazy, traumatic experience for me that I didn't know how to deal with. So I masked that up and I internalized it and attacked myself that I was somehow to blame. And never fully dealt with that ever until years later when I have been dealing with an autoimmune disease and gone to therapy and realizing your emotions play a factor on your physical health. And so that's been the rabbit hole of peeling the onion, so to speak, of layers of trauma and not really processing feelings and emotions and just working through all of that. And that's been in the last 5 years that I really focused on dealing with these traumatic experiences. But when you have like this where your car is stolen, it kind of just is like a whole other realm for you to be reflective and a reminder to like go back and be like, did I ever process that emotion when I felt that way? You know, at 17, in my early 20s, when at 10 years old, like, did you ever really fully process a loss or a traumatic event? And that's a question to ask yourself. And it doesn't mean you need to like be all stuck in the past. But a famous quote here, if you don't learn from your past, aren't you doomed to repeat it in the future? So like, this is all for me to help me learn to do better and process things maybe in a better way than maybe I did when I was 10 years old, that I did a year ago, that I'm doing with my daughter. So I can provide a pathway for her to be an emotionally intelligent human being who works through her problems, who works through her crap. Because we all got baggage of crap, right? We all have traumas in one way or another. And I never dealt with it. All these situations, I'm looking this week because I'm just like reminded of trauma. After my dad faked his death and I never processed that, that sent me into another tailspin of such low self-esteem and unworthiness and basically just seeking out unconsciously, like subconsciously, seeking out more trauma, more abuse, more feelings of like, I'm not worthy. So I looked for that subconsciously to just, it felt normal for me, right? Because I had all these traumas. Trauma was normal. Trauma was actually safe. Isn't that just bizarre how the human psyche works? So then after that, in my 20s, I dated horrible guys. Yep, I was that girl that just looked for the worst guy you could possibly imagine, and I fell in love with him. Yeah, so I actually dated a con artist. Like, looking back on this, man, why, Blaise? Why? But I know why. I just didn't deal with all that other stuff, those other traumas. So this felt safe for me. The chaos, the trauma, the abuse, it felt safe, which is crazy. He literally stole $10,000 from me. He racked up my credit cards. He cleaned out my debit cards. I would give him my debit card password because I'm like, hey, go have fun. Take $20 out if you don't have your bank card with you. Like, I leased a car with this guy. I had it in my name, but I paid for it. And this is what con artists do. They make you feel bad for them and that they're wounded, and you feel like you want to fix the wounded bird, right? Fix the wing, take them in, make them better, make them whole. And no matter what you have to do, as long as they're happy and whole, then you feel better, right? Like you're taking care of the trauma and the wounds, but you never take care of your own. So like I leased a car. He just took me for a ride. He dated other women. Like, it was just, I felt like I was going crazy in that relationship because he was making me crazy. That's what gaslighting is. They abuse you emotionally so much and then pin it on you and think it's your fault, and you take that on. And like it was awful, and that just was like a prelude to another guy who abused me and another guy, and it was just all these portals to feel safe in the chaos and the abuse and the trauma. And I experienced identity theft from these guys because they did. They took my identity. They took my voice. They stole my dignity. They violated my body. And I didn't know how to stop the abuse or the trauma because for some reason I didn't believe I deserved any better. I was so used to the trauma and the idea of being taken advantage of and things stolen from me, that in essence was a sick way of being safe because that's all I knew. And I didn't know how to work through it. You know, when I faced so many situations and scenarios throughout my life and constantly feeling taken advantage of and a little piece chipped away and stolen from me, and then that identity being taken, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know that I had an identity. I thought I needed to find it in others. And when I had misplaced my identity, I was then, so focused on getting it back. So in an effort to find those stolen pieces, I just kept seeking it out in others to fill me up, right? But instead, I just kept finding more robbers. And instead of just finding any portion of me again, they just took another portal away from me, another piece. And I found robbers in friends, and I found robbers in jobs, and I craved, someone to give it back to me, but they just kept taking. And, it's a funny insight, but I have been battling this rare autoimmune disease, which part of it included in the beginning some food allergies. So I've learned a lot about food allergies. And a lot of times when we have an allergy or when something really isn't good for our bodies or for ourselves anymore, we actually crave it more. So when I was on a gluten-free diet, I was craving anything that had bread and gluten, like anything like that. And I wanted it even more. And I just had this insane craving for all the stuff I was supposed to stay away from and cleanse my body, but I wanted it more. And it's so true when it comes to getting something back for ourselves. We crave it, but we go to the wrong places for it. We're craving the filling up of our cup, of our identity, of our soul, of feeling whole again, of feeling worthy and loved. We crave it in other toxic places, and we think that is the solve. We think we're going to get our fix and our cup filled back up from these places and these portals. But really, it's causing more harm. They're taking more from you. It's more of an allergic reaction. So I really encourage you to dissect what your patterns are for trying to feel love, worthiness, wholeness. Feel like you have your identity again. Where are you going for it? Because sometimes it is not only an empty well, it's a poisonous one. I'm so lucky to actually be alive, guys. You know, and I know everybody's got stuff. So, like, don't you think, like, you're sitting here listening to this podcast, can't you look back and be like, man, I've done some stuff and I'm still here? Like, woo, woo, high fives, guys. We are still standing no matter what we've been through in our past, all of that trauma, all of those problems and setbacks and, you know, hardships and relationships and our upbringings. And no matter what we've been through, like, the human spirit is resilient. So I totally give you, like, high fives right now that we're still here today, working through our messes one day at a time, deciding to be better human beings. And I applaud you for that. And I just can't believe that it's taken me this long, but I'm going to applaud myself that I decided in my 30s that enough was enough. And, you know, looking back and examining all these different scenarios in my life, and why did I keep going back to this empty well, this well that took more and more and stole more from me? But I think in my head, I thought they would actually fill me up. They would. They fill me up with that all I've ever known is chaos. And they would fill my identity and they would make me whole. But they actually just took more and more of me, and they chipped away and they stole more of my identity. But here's the light at the end of the tunnel. Then one day, when I was dating a horrible abuser, emotionally and physically, I just woke up one morning and I thought, I am 23. And is this my life? Is this the guy I choose for my life? This is how he makes me feel. Is this how I want to feel? Is this normal? Is this my happy ending? And it just was like, I don't think so. Like, even though I have experienced so many years of theft from these other people, that moment, it was so pinnacle that I decided to make a different decision, that I decided to take back of who I was, take my identity back. And that changed the whole trajectory of my life. I had many things to take back my identity with and many portals other than this one guy, but that one little decision was a major one. And it allowed me to unlock some of those shackles where it got a bit easier over the years. At 23, I'm almost 39, and I can decide, like, I can look back from that moment at 23, making that one decision led me to another good decision, which created another way for me to make a better decision. And yes, I've made wrong ones along this journey, but I've made better ones. And I'm not dead. I'm not, knocked up and, in a life of a battered wife with a guy that doesn't love me, that a girl that doesn't love herself, in a life that is filled with trauma and that defines her. I'm in a life now where I'm just learning from my trauma and being a better woman because of it, and turning my pain into my purpose, and being a better mother because of what I went through, and to show her how to work through and navigate her own sets of traumas and tragedies and setbacks. And she can still be the hero of her life, even amongst disaster, because our life isn't perfect. We're all going to have these challenges and hardships and unfair bouts and blows and things we never thought we'd have to encounter. But it's how we rise up through them, not the fact that we faced them. And that's why I can be truthful about it to you today. I was so ashamed of all of those decisions and past that I never dare spoke about it. And here I am on a podcast reaching thousands of people, and I'm telling you my truth. I took my voice back from that one decision at 23. And that's what I want to share with you. People can take things from your life, throughout your life, and it doesn't matter what they take. They can take, your innocence. They can take your voice. They can take your material things. They can take so many things. But then you have to decide where you draw the line. You're like, you cannot take my peace. You cannot take my joy. You cannot take my identity. Because I know who I am, and I'm not going to let you do it anymore. I'm going to draw a line and a boundary. Even though you take my car in a week, you don't take my joy. Take my car, man. Have at her. I'm still happy. I know I'm okay. And I know I can help my daughter through this. That is heroin. That is the ultimate protector of your identity, when you can be so solid in that and grounded in that, even though there's chaos and theft all around you. And that's been an incredible insight that I'm like, like I do feel violated, and I do feel, a little bit more aware of my safety or non-safety, right? Like you do know that that's a threat out there, but hey, they only took my car. Like they didn't get in my house. They didn't take my heart. They didn't take my soul. Like I'm here. And I'm not so freaked out about it. I'm not like calling everyone and crying and be like, my life is over because our car got stolen. Like, welcome to this new city. Like, no, like, you know what? Things happen. I'm still here. We're fine. The car got returned. Really, we're really no worse for wear. Like, we're okay. And that's what I want to encourage you guys. Like, you're okay. Even if someone tries to take something from you, hold the line on your peace. Because when they can't take that away from you, you've won. You've won. That's the most amazing thing, that you can be the gatekeeper of your identity, your peace, and your joy. Because that is the prelude to you getting restoration in other areas of your life. Maybe they do take something. Maybe you're not as lucky and fortunate and blessed to get it back. But I promise you, if you hold the line on your peace and your mental and emotional health, your identity, your joy, who you are, you're going to see a restoration somewhere in your life. And it's because you were the gatekeeper of your identity in that moment. And I just encourage you to always hold that line. And it doesn't matter if people come your way. I'm faced with it every day, someone trying to take my voice. I learned it with relationships. I married the most amazing man who treats me like a queen every single day, treats me like his equal. And it's an amazing partnership. But yeah, I've picked some bad friends. I've picked bad jobs. I run into people in my life that have to be in my life, and they violate me. They violate, my boundaries. And I'm learning. This is a learning process. You're not going to get it perfect every time. You're always going to be in a growth learning stage somewhere in your life. And this has been learning opportunities for me of how, even if they violate my boundary, if my anxiety level goes up, I'm learning that they really can't take my soul and my identity. And I'm learning how to navigate through that. That's the joy of all these different circumstances, that this is a learning opportunity for me. And even if I fall and fail and totally look like a fool and do it wrong, I'm learning to do it better the next time. So who would have thunk it that getting your car stolen was such a opening of me of doing some personal growth and self-reflection and allowing me to be a better mom, to allow my daughter to process all these feelings and allow her to learn from them that she's safe. And I was saying to her as I tucked her in our bed last night, you're just 7, honey. Mom and dad got you. You're just 7. You don't need to worry about it. You're safe. Your parents got you. Mommy's got you. Just know that and trust that no matter what, they can't take your peace, baby girl. I got you. And I think that's what we need to tell ourselves. Tell your inner child, you know what? I got you. You're okay. Your peace, your soul, your identity is protected. I gotcha. So never let those thieves that come in the night or in the middle of the day to take something from you. Draw your sword today and say, not on my watch. Today I do not yield. You may take something from me, and I might not be able to have the power to stop you, but you cannot take my identity. I know who I am today, and hear me roar. That's right, hear me roar. Draw your sword, guys, and breathe some fire against whoever is coming at you and say, I will be the gatekeeper of my identity today. I know who I am, and I stand firm on my feet, and I take back my power. You cannot take that from me. Oh, I know this was a weird kind of crazy analogy of owning your identity, but let's challenge ourselves to look at the things that happen in our day-to-day lives, whether it's conflict, whether it's good situations or stuff that just hits the fan, like your car being stolen. Let's be reflective. Let's learn something about how we react, how we can do better next time, how we can allow our children to grow and do better than we did, and just let us become the best versions of ourselves each and every day. I love this. So let's just recap what we talked about today. This week, our car was stolen right from our front yard. Yes, indeedy. But guess what? I'm still here and I'm still happy. So boo, yeah, you didn't take my peace. It's been an interesting time examining how this makes us feel as humans, whether we've been violated, our security and our safety, and that sense in it is being challenged, how my 7-year-old has been affected by this, and how I'm learning to let her navigate through these own emotions and not deny her experience, because she's 7. Maybe I don't feel the way she does, but that doesn't mean I need to deny how she is navigating and processing having something stolen from her. Looking at our past experiences and how we were traumatized, and maybe it affected us and maybe we didn't deal with it, and maybe it's showing us how we've reacted in past situations that we could have done better. And I'm going to take all those experiences and apply them to my new ones and do better and become a better person. And also, finally, they can take anything they want from you, but they can't take your identity, your soul, your peace, and your joy. Be the protector of your peace. Guard it with your life. And you'll be amazed that chaos can happen all around you, but peace be still. Peace be still. If you want to learn more about my coaching programs, purchase my book, or have me speak at your next event, please contact me and go to my website, blaisehunter.com. I also have a very awesome gift for you today. If you want my free gift of the MAP, M-A-P-P, to peace and balance, and your guide to access whenever you're feeling anxiety or out of control, be the gatekeeper of your peace, and go to my map, you can go to my website, blaisehunter.com, go to the free offers tab. It is there for you. Access it. You're going to be amazed, and this is my gift to you because I want to give it to the world. I want everyone to have peace and joy and balance in their day, even amongst the chaos. That's it for this week's episode. Challenge yourself to be vulnerable, lean into the difficulties, and have these open conversations so we can rise up and be the heroes of our lives, and let us breathe fire together. If you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe and support Blaise the Trail podcast. Leave me a review. Reviews are always needed and welcome. I appreciate it if you can do that for me. Thanks for listening. I'm Blaise Hunter.
You've been listening to Blaise the Trail with Blaise Hunter. To learn more about how you can breathe fire and unleash the hero within, or to listen to past episodes, visit blaisehunter.com.